and welcome to Paper Crafting with Tammy. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. It is awesome to see you here. I have a great project for us today that we're going to start on in just a minute. If you haven't done it yet, take a minute and hit that big red subscribe button so you see what else I've got for you next time. And let's get started. Hi there. For today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a really fun card that I actually got inspired to make by a video I saw on the Whimsy Stamps channel. So I'm going to link that video in the description below so that you can see the original. That card was created using a Hexagon die set, and I don't have that. But I saw the video and I loved the design and I thought, I bet I could come up with something similar. And so that's what I'm doing here today. That doesn't mean I'm not going to turn around and buy that die set. It just means I don't have it yet. So this is my substitution in the meantime. So this is the idea of how the card will work. We're going to be creating it with a little different color palette, but this was me figuring it out and just making sure that I had the measurements and everything right. So for the card that we're going to make today, we're going to go ahead and start with an 8.5 by 5.5 piece. We are going to score it at 4 1/4 and at 2 1/8. I'd go over those lines a couple of times just to make sure they're going to fold for you really easily. Okay, so you've got those two score lines. Now what we're going to do is create this next section. So we're going to go ahead and deal with this piece here and create the edge of this hexagon that's going to flip. Okay. So what you're going to need is a piece of cardstock or coordinating paper that is 2 by 5 1/4. Okay. So keep in mind your card height is 5.5. So you want to go 5 1/4, and then you only need it 2 inches because you're going to put this piece right up against that original score line that you made. Okay. That score line at the 2 1/8. You're still going to have a little bit of a gap over on this left-hand side. Okay. Now, when you go to tape this down, I want you to tape around this edge, this long edge, and this bottom edge. You're going to do a tiny bit in here and in here, but I want you to leave this whole section open. Okay. So top and bottom, think about where this is going to go. Go ahead and tape that left-hand edge, a little bit of adhesive in the corners, okay? And then stop because you don't want to have too much on there with what we're going to be doing next. Okay. So if you have a hexagon die, the gal who does that video does a fantastic job of showing you exactly how to use that die to create this card. Like I said, I just don't have that. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my Kiwi Lane templates. This one is called Shapes 6T. So this was from the Tiny Shape set that came out a long time ago. It's a retired set. If you have it, awesome. If not, and you're a club member, there's also a set of shapes that came with the Kiwi Lane clubs called hexagons. I will tell you this Hexagon 3 is a tiny bit too big. When I was working on a demo, it really came out just a tiny bit too big. So if you have to use Hexagon 3, you're going to want to come in about 1/4 inch all the way around it. Okay. So I'm going to take shape 6T and I'm going to center this template on my card. So I'm right on that score line. And that's where I'm centering it. The only thing I need to trace is right around the part that is going to overlap on that cardstock. Okay, so just get a little pencil line there. And then I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to cut right on those pencil lines. So you're only talking about 4 straight lines. That's why I figured that I could go ahead and duplicate this. Would the die be easier? Yup, probably. But this will work. for now. So once you've cut all the way around that, you can go ahead and pop out that piece of cardstock. And then you may need to kind of catch your edge again. Feels like it's hung up in a couple of spots, so I'm just gonna make sure I cut all the way through. And you're cutting through a couple layers. There we go. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna go ahead and fold on those score lines, and I'll show you how this looks so far. So on that first score, go ahead and get that one done. And then when you fold this piece back, now you've got that hexagon floating freely on this side. And the way it frames it out here, it looks like a hexagon on the whole front of the card. That's going to show it better when we put this back panel on. Okay. For your back panel, you're going to need a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape that down. Again, it's 4 by 5 1/4. Just adhere that. And this is what's going to make that hexagon really show up. I'm just centering before I put that down. Now that hexagon really pops on there, which is super cute. Okay. I'm going to be adding some stamp and die cut pieces here. I actually decided that for today, for this card, I'm going to play with this stamp and thin cut set from Close to My Heart. This is called Fabulous Flamingo, and I just think that's super cute. And against the black and the pink, I think that'll be a really fun design. So I don't want to apply the flamingo straight onto this black. So I'm going to go ahead and create a smaller hexagon to put in here to work from. So for that particular piece, I'm going to use the inside of this hexagon 3. I'm just going to trace this with my pencil and do a quick little piece to go inside that card. Excuse me, to go right inside that hexagon. And that's just going to help frame this out for me. Add a little bit more interest to the front. Okay. And then I can start doing some decorating and deciding on exactly how I want that front of that card to look. Okay. So when I flip that over and adhere it, I think that's going to look great. On the inside of the card, I ended up using the exact same template that I used to create the original hexagon, and I want to go ahead and trace this Shapes 6T again, and I'm going to trace this on some white cardstock that I can nest right behind this hexagon, so when you open up the card, that'll be there. With a sentiment on it and maybe just something cute. So add a little more white cardstock here. And I'm just using a basic smooth white cardstock from Close to My Heart. This is their Daisy. I'm going to get that traced, do a cut, and I'll show you how I got that to fit just right behind the hexagon that moves. So I'm going to put some tape adhesive on the back. And then I'm just tucking this. I'm going to hold it with my fingers right behind this hexagon because I want it to kind of hide behind it. I'm going to set it down and give it a good rub. And that's going to get that right in the spot where it needs to be. Okay. So just like that. Okay. So the next thing that I want to do is go ahead and create some of the embellishments that I want to use on this cute little card. I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. like I said, I want to do that flamingo. And this flamingo has a matching die. So the last time I used it, I actually did not get its legs quite how they needed to be. So I am checking that first. Sometimes these things that have these kind of long, gangly parts have some special circumstances that you have to consider. So let me get him. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and stamp in some archival ink, something that's not going to bleed when I color it, because I will be needing to color this flamingo with some markers. So, and I'm just doing this. I know a lot of you are super big fans of your Misty, and I get it, but I don't like to dig that much stuff out. I'm a pretty simple crafter. So go ahead and get my flamingo down. And I got a little tiny smudge there, but that's going to come off when I die cut it. So not too worried about that. And then I know that I'm going to want some little accents to go around this flamingo. And this set came with some cute greenery and some flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these off. And I think with these, because I can do them as a solid stamp, I'm going to go ahead and do them colored. Get a couple of little small block out. So do a couple of this. And I'll probably make a few more than I may need, but stamping these with New England Ivy. And then this great tropical leaf was also part of this set. I'm also going to do it with New England Ivy. And finally, this fun little blossom. Go ahead and do this with ballerina. We'll see how the color comes out on that. It's pretty light, so I'm not going to do a second generation stamp or anything on here. I'm just going to go ahead and go with a few of these. See how many I need. That should be enough. So I'm going to go ahead and get these die cut and show you how I put everything together. All right, well, I got all those goodies die cut, and we're going to go ahead and color this flamingo. So I'm going to use one of the Tri-Blend Spectrum Noir markers, and I'm going to start with the light pink. This one is, it's actually called pale pink, and I'm just going to use the lightest tone of this to go ahead and color this flamingo. And then I'll do a little bit of accenting with some of the darker tones. So I like to go over the entire thing first. And again, I'm just doing this in that pale pink. And I'm going to go ahead and do his head, or her head, the head. And then I'm going to use the mid-tone to go over some of the lines that are already here. I love, close to my heart really makes it easy to figure out where you might want to add a little bit of shading. So I love paper crafting and I enjoy the coloring, but it's not something that I would say I'm incredibly skilled at yet. So I'm going to use the darkest of these tones and go ahead and hit the beak. Just try to give that a little bit more depth. I'm going to hit the eye as well. And then just a little accent down here on the feet and the back of the tail. Alrighty, so my flamingo's done, and my flamingo is really going to be the star of the card, but I want to make sure that it doesn't make the mechanism kind of hang up as we open this card. So I am going to go ahead and secure the flamingo all the way down. So you could also use like a liquid adhesive for this, absolutely. Whatever works for you. I've had really good luck with this plus glue tape, so I'm going to go with that. And I just want to kind of center this flamingo right in this hexagon. It's just a fun little pop right there. And then I'm going to use some of the leaves up here in the corner, keeping in mind that I don't want them to attach to the lower level of this card. So I'm actually going to pop some of them up and I'll put some of them down. But I think I'll use one of each of these leaves. I'm just going to put adhesive at the top so that it can hang over. Just give some fun little dimension there. Same with this one, some adhesive up at the top. And then I'm going to put a pop dot, a little foam adhesive square right behind this flower. And just put that right on top of those. So I think that's a cute little accent. And then as the card moves, that's going to go ahead and allow it to move. Okay. So then we get into this middle section. And I want to do something similar down here at the bottom that's going to show when the card is closed. Okay, that way this fun little element is going to be under that edge. Okay, but then also seen inside the card. So these ones I can adhere down all the way. They're not moving. They're not going anywhere. So get those ones down. And inside, with it being inside the card, I am not going to pop up the flower this time. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down as well. And I want to stamp a sentiment inside. So I was looking at this fun, this was called Everyday Magic Stamp of the Month set. And I love this You Are All Kinds of Amazing. So that's the one I pulled out. I've already got it mounted on a block. And that's going to fit in there really well. So let me get a little foam underneath there for some extra give. I'm just going to use a black ink for this. Love that little saying. Okay, so you are all kinds of amazing. Now I've got a couple of little pieces left and I can decide if I want to do something with these or if I'm just going to go ahead and leave them. I know that I want to add another flower in this cluster here. Okay. And I may just do another little cluster down here at the bottom. It's going to be hidden by the part of the card that closes. Or I could do another one up here at the top. I just don't want it to compete with, yeah, that'll work, with the card when it's opening and closing. I don't want it to be seen from the front. So that is super fun. I love just the playfulness of this card and the way everything kind of layers together. I feel like there's some little surprises as you open it. So the last detail that I would like is to go ahead and add a few of these fun little, they look like sequins, they're just silver, and I'm going to put those right in the center of these flowers just for an extra little accent. I really want just the tiniest size of these. Just a fun little pop. Make those flowers stand out a little bit more. Alrighty. You could always add a couple more of these around. If you just want to add a little extra embellishment on the front there. Grab a couple different sizes. There we go. And I think there's probably enough inside that I'm going to go ahead and leave that as it is. I hope that you enjoyed watching me create this card today, and then it gave you a fun idea to get creative and find a fun way to make one of these great little cards. Like I said, if you've got the die cuts or you're interested in seeing that method, take a look at the description and find that link over to Whimsy Stamps. Their card is amazing, but I do appreciate you tuning in and watching my little card hack today. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.